Hello, and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I am on the hook, and this is my review of the French Tier 3 tank destroyer, the Renault UE 57, also known as the Rat. So, is it any good? Well, have you ever known a rat to be good?
So yeah, not a great tank, although it does have a good gun, a very good gun, but it's just mounted on a terrible, terrible tank, as we seem to become a bit of a, it's becoming a bit of a trend on these French tank destroyers. Good guns on terrible tanks. So this thing here, known as the Rat, the reason it's known as a Rat is because it has good camouflage and it's very, very small. To show you just how small this tank is, here's the T18, which we all know and love. Look at the difference in size. This is a tiny tank. Even the T82, which is a very small tank destroyer, is huge in comparison to this tiny tank. It's one of the smallest tanks in World of Tanks. Also, I think it has probably the best camouflage in World of Tanks, which you definitely need in this tank. It has 150 hit points, which is the lowest of any Tier 3 tank destroyer, but is understandable because of its small size. The best hit points goes to the premium French Tier 3 tank destroyer with 180. Now, the weight of this tank, it weighs in at around 2.8 tons to 3 tons. It is very, very light. To give you an idea of how light that is, the next lightest tank destroyer at Tier 3 is the Marder II with 11 tons. So this thing is extremely light. If it's on your team and you're going into position to start the game, don't bump into this tank. Even bumping into this tank could wipe off half its health, a gentle bump. So don't bump into it. If you see an enemy one, ram it. You could easily kill this tank with a single ram. It's terrible. Now, it weighs, sorry, that was its weight. Its speed is 36 kilometers an hour in forward. It does have pretty good acceleration, thankfully. However, the top speed isn't flash. It's about average for a TD, but there are faster ones, which is a bit disappointing seeing it as it's so light, but it just doesn't have a very big engine in it. Reverse speed of 12 is average. The traverse speed is extremely disappointing in such a light tank. The traverse speed is 30, and it is the worst of any Tier 3 tank destroyer. The next burst being the T82 at 32 degrees, but the others are substantially better. The view range of this tank is 360 meters, which is on the lower side of average, which I guess is also understandable because the tank's not very high, so it's hard for it to see far. Signal range of 455 is also below average, which means this tank is kind of blind, especially at this tier where radio range is pretty important. The camouflage, though, is excellent and is probably the best camouflage in World of Tanks of any tank, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it'd be damn close if it's not. It's even better than the T82, which is known as having excellent camouflage. It's only a little bit better than T82, but it is better. The gun traverse on this tank is, as is becoming a trend on these French TDs, it's awful. 14 degrees of gun traverse, which I think is slightly better than the 12 degrees on the previous tank, but it's still awful. The only one with as bad a gun traverse is the French premium tank destroyer, which also has 14 degrees. After that, we go to the T82, which has 24 degrees of gun traverse, so the next worst is almost twice as good. The best is the Marder II with 57 degrees of gun traverse. So truly, truly awful. And that combined with the fact that the actual traverse of the tank is very, very slow means it is extremely hard to keep your gun pointing at a moving enemy. Now, the gun depression on this tank is also awful at -2 degrees. Yes, I said 2 degrees. Now that may be, I haven't checked, but that may be the worst or equal worst in the game. It's terrible. So if you cannot fire on the move in this tank. If you're moving forward and just go over a gentle rise or a bump, suddenly your gun cannot be pointed at your opponent anymore. It's just awful. The gun elevation of 20 though isn't bad. It's pretty good. Let's have a quick look at the grind for the Rat. There's not a lot to grind. I think I went straight to the top radio, which you definitely need because radio range is so important in TDs at this tier. And I went straight to the top engine. So I don't think I tried it with the stock engine, but it's slow with the, like I say, accelerates alright, but the top speed's not much anyway. You have to have the track simply because it takes the traverse from 28 to 30 and you need it really bad. The first gun is the gun off the previous tank destroyer that you had. And it does pretty much the same stuff. It's fairly accurate at 0.35. It's pretty good. The penetration of 66 is adequate at tier 3, but against tier 4 and 5 tanks that you do see in this tank, it's really not adequate. So you kind of don't have a choice but to change to this second gun. The second gun is a very good gun, although the accuracy is a little bit disappointing because no armor, you need to be at range, but it's okay. So it has a 21.43 rate of fire, which is very good. And actually, I just want to compare this gun to something for you. Hang on a sec. Yeah, I just wanted to compare this gun to the gun off the T82, because the funny thing is, the T82 is probably my favourite tier 3 tank destroyer. It's a very good tank destroyer. And I thought I'd compare the gun, because afterwards I thought, I'll compare it to the T82, and the T82 gun's going to be so much better. But after having a look, check this out. 21.43 on the T82 gun on the left here. 21.43, it's the same rate of fire. Okay, and it's a very good rate of fire. Penetration, 110 with standard ammunition, 180. And on our French tank here, 110, 180, same penetration. And it's very good penetration for its tier. Okay, what about the damage? 75. Exactly the same as our French tank destroyer. 75, good damage for tier 3. What about accuracy? 0.39, 0.39. Not the best accuracy, but it's okay with this rate of fire. It's pretty good. Same. Aiming time of 2 seconds, exactly the same as the T82. It's almost, in fact, it is identical in every respect except that the gun on the T82 also has HE ammo, which I didn't find that effective in this gun anyway, so I'd never used it. So really, it's the same bloody gun. So how come the gun off my favourite TD that I kick ass in be the same as the gun on this thing that I was so frustrated in and didn't like playing? Well, the gun's good, but what it's mounted on is rubbish. Yeah, it has good camouflage, just like the T82 does, but let's compare the rest of the tank to the T82. 150 hit points versus 160 on the T82. Okay. 2.8 tons versus 13.1 tons. So, it's a lot heavier, but that's not a big deal on this tank. 36 kilometers an hour versus 48 on the T82. So, T82 is a lot faster. 30 traverse versus 32. Not that much difference there, but 32 is better than 30. The T82 has 10 meters more view range and about 150 meters more radio range, which is kind of important at this tier. The camouflage isn't as good on the T82, but it's still fantastic. It's not much less. The gun traverse, and here's the big deal. The gun traverse is 24 degrees on the T82, and it's only 14 degrees on this tank, which means the T82 you have much better chance of hitting a moving target and a much better chance of aiming more quickly at tanks and getting your shot off before someone else snipes your kill. Also, 5 degrees of gun depression versus 2 degrees also means you have more chance of hitting your target and getting a kill in the T82 than you do in this tank. So really, good gun on a terrible tank. That's pretty much all you can say about it. We have a camouflage net fitted, binoculars fitted, and a toolkit fitted. And the crew will all be between 75% and 80% in the couple of games you're going to see. We'll pop into Tank Destroy now, have a quick look at the gun traverse and armor, and then we'll get into the gameplay. The Renault UE 57, the Rat, in Tank Inspector. Let's have a quick look at that horrible gun traverse. Get ready, folks. Here it goes. Woohoo! Look at that. Pretty terrible, huh? So that's pretty much it, folks. Let's have a quick look at the armor. I'm obviously not going to point out weak spots because it's so thin there's no weak spots. So we have here 9mm of armor, on the whole front of the tank. You've got here 6 mils, 6 mils. Obviously, what's the point? The side is also 6 millimeters. So you are a small target though, because you are small, but anything that hits you will penetrate. HE, oh my gosh. Any tank that can take HE, that hits you with HE, will obliterate you with one shot. There's no doubt about it. Alright.
Let's go.
The map is Ensk. We are in our Renault UE 57 Tier 3 tank destroyer, and it's a Tier 3 game, so we're top tier, which is good. I have the 47mm gun fitted, which is the stock gun on this tank. And the stock gun is actually okay in Tier 3 games. It's not, it suffers badly in Tier 4 and Tier 5 games, but in this tier it's actually not too bad. So, one advantage of being so small is that you can take camouflage in very small bushes like this one. Now on the map I can just see there's a T-18 on my right. I think, what? How did that get there? And yep, sure enough, there it is. So I start turning. Look how slow this tank turns. Eventually we turn to face him. I decide to go for his tracks under the cart. We hit him a couple of times, do no damage at all. I fire again. That one goes in. And we do 54 damage and get the kill. So I think the average damage of this gun is about 55. So we had just enough damage to kill him. Now I'm moving around a little bit here because they do have artillery, and I probably was spotted by that T-18. So I'm moving back and forth a bit, and now I decide to try and get a shot on this Panzer IV. I try the trick of going under the tracks again, but I can't get anywhere near him. He's now on the other side of the building. I'm moving to get a shot at him. Trying to keep cover all the time, so I keep going from one bush to another, but then I see he's getting taken care of, so I decide to have a look up here. There's another target. He's now dead, and I can't quite get a shot, so I'm going to have to move forward again to the other bush. And he's going to move in front of me, that's nice.
Penetration.
That one goes in. Oh, I hit a concrete block the second shot, and we finally get him. Great. Medium. Oh, missed. Ah, bad shooting.
Enemy armor is hit.
Oh, good. We hit him with the blind shot. I decide to have one more blind shot and then go for this guy who's coming into view here.
Penetration.
Oh, one more hit and he's dead. What happened to that? It looked like I went through his tank. Well, anyway, it missed either way. I'll find a few more blind shots in case that other tank is still there.
Enemy is hit.
Panzer 3A comes into view. Very nice of him.
Penetration.
No trouble penetrating at this tier.
Enemy is hit.
And he gets into cover. Fire a couple more blind shots just in case that medium is still there. So you can see this is a very rapid fire gun, this one. Oh, can we get a shot? Don't know where that shot went. As you can see there, I reached the limit of my gun traverse and I had to turn the tank to try and follow him. It is a severe limitation as far as getting shots off on people. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit now. I probably stay here a little bit long because the tank is so fragile. I'm so worried about it. Just firing a couple of blind shots there in case the tank is still up there. Don't know where that medium 2 went. Running into obstacles too. You got to remember. Oh, slide down to low speed now. I see the medium 2 and I know he's there, but I can't. There must be some solid object between us. I'm not hitting him, and someone else gets the kill anyway. Try and avoid running into things with this tank, like a tree, for example. You run into a tree, it virtually stops the tank dead. That guy's. There's a building between us. I didn't realise. Yeah, so if you run in, even a lamppost almost stops your tank because it's so light. So yeah, just watch that. Alright, so this Artie is the last tank on their team. He's being very noble and taking the fight to us.
Penetration.
As you see, the quick reload there managed to finish him off without too much trouble. Even though I did, once again, have to traverse the tank to get that shot. So that was a Class 2 game. We hit quite a few tanks. And let's have a look at the next screen. We finished second on XP, and we actually finished first for damage though with 542. This guy was the next best on 448. And we fired 40 shots, of which 13 hit, and of the ones that hit, 12 penetrated. So the 47mm gun, not a problem at tier 3 against tier 3s and tier 2s. Damage 542, and we damaged 6 tanks, destroying 3 of them. And we received 11,000. Don't worry, but this is a mission bonus at the moment. But almost 12,000 credits, of which, you know, almost all of it's profit. So we would have made around 11 grand. So it's a very profitable tank if you have a good game in it. But you know, 400 and was it 65 XP was enough for a Class 2. So obviously you don't need to have a lot of XP to get mastery, but it is hard to get XP in this tank. So once again, we're on ESQ. And once again, it's a tier 3 game. Didn't have many good tier 4, tier 5 games. And we have the 6-pounder gun this time, the top gun, which I think it's 110 penetration, and it definitely is 75 average damage per shot. Accuracy, not great though. So, yeah, we've got the good camouflage, but that's about all we've got. Now, on this map, not bad for this tank, because there are some small bushes you can hide in. But with the nerf to TDs now, when you fire, your camouflage is reduced to 25% of your non-firing stationary camouflage. So once you fire your gun at higher tiers, you will get spotted. At this tier you won't, but higher tiers, once you fire, you'll get spotted and immediately killed. The nerfs they've been doing to tank destroyers, like a couple of patches ago, when you fired your gun in a tank destroyer, your camouflage wasn't reduced, which was a bit silly, but it meant that tank destroyers had a key advantage. But tank destroyers that have no armor, here we go, Chiha.
Enemy armor is damaged. Critical hit.
Distracting with that one.
Enemy is hit.
So you can see the good damage of this gun. Really,
Penetration.
you can tear tanks apart pretty quickly. We do receive a hit there from the Chiha, doing 74 damage to us, which is almost half our health.
Penetration.
Marder 2.
Got him.
We managed to get the finishing shot there. Someone else did hit him though. So yeah, now that they've nerfed it, unfortunately, yes, it's meant that in higher tiers, some of these big German guys who can tear you apart are now spottable, and you can, you know, defend yourself against them. But in these lower tiers, these TDs that have no armor are now sitting ducks, and there's so many maps now where there's just no trees that these you know, poorly armored TDs that have guns that aren't exactly going to rip tanks apart. They're good guns, but they're not so much better than a standard tank. That these TDs now just get ripped apart in lower tier games. So moving forward now, just simply because it's getting close to the end of the game, and there's our equivalent, another rat. High damage roll on that one, and we finish him off with 2 shots. So you can see there, very easy to kill the rat. So this also ended up being a Class 2 game. Very quick game though. So you can see here, for XP we finished 3rd. And damage wise, we're actually on top for damage, doing over 500 damage. Next screen. So we fired 12 shots, 9 of those hit, and the ones that hit all penetrated. Great penetration in this gun, no problem with the gun at all. Damage of 513 is not bad for a tier 3 tank, and especially in such a quick game. We received 1 hit, which of course penetrated. We spotted 1, we damaged 3 and destroyed 3 vehicles. 11,600 income, which was pretty much about 11,000 profit at the end of the day. So 430 XP was a Class 2. Now, to sum up, this tank has a good gun, but it's severely hampered by 14-degree gun traverse, -2 degrees of gun depression, and a 30th degree of speed of track traverse. All those things combine to just say it's a terrible tank in my opinion. Alright. Thank you for watching my review of the Renault UE 57. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.